going to vote in one of the most important runoff elections in the history of our country.
One state can chart the course, not just for the next 4 years, but for the next generation.
The whole country is watching us right now because we have the power, Georgia.
We're on the front lines of this battle for the entire country.
So 2 months after the general election, it all comes down to Georgia. The state Senate runoff election taking place right now. The results could determine who controls the majority of the Senate. Javi's got more on this, and it's so important that both Trump and Biden were there yesterday.
Yeah, and a slew of celebrities as well as a slew of lawmakers over the last several weeks. But both leaders took time to rally behind their prospective parties. And as you said, Georgia is at the center of this political world as Democrats Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff challenge incumbent GOP Senators Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. So let's take a live look to Georgia right now, where they've already started casting their ballots, and it's been a record turnout so far. According to state officials, 3 million early votes have already been cast leading up to those polls open today. So we want to bring in Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs right now to talk about the election in Georgia. We thank you very much for taking some time this morning. How much focus, and I should say how much pressure, is on the Secretary of State there to make sure everything goes according to plan leading up to today's runoff election?
Well, certainly I don't envy him being in the position of having to run a whole other statewide election just 2 months off of the general election that we just held. And certainly there is, I think, increased scrutiny just because of all of the things that have happened since the election and folks calling into question election results. And I will reiterate, with no evidence, but they are continuing to do that. And Georgia's certainly been in the spotlight of that. And so I think that it is really critical that everything is done exactly right.
I want to get your thoughts on the phone call President Donald Trump made to the Secretary of State of Georgia. But first, I want to play this clip.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Your thoughts after hearing that clip and the rest of the audio that has now surfaced?
Well, it is certainly unprecedented that any elected official would make such a call, let alone the President of the United States. And I want to say his actions are illegal. And I hope that there is something done about that. He's asking a chief election officer of a state to overturn the state's election results based on being upset with the result, not any evidence, not any facts, not any actual valid ballots. And so I think every American, regardless of where you fall on this election, should be alarmed. And as a fellow Secretary of State, I think that Secretary Raffensperger responded exactly as I hope any secretary would have responded to a call like that.
And I know there are questions about whether an investigation will be launched into that phone call, so we'll wait to see how that plays out. I have to ask you, after the November election here in the state of Arizona, there were questions about the accuracy of the election here. Did you receive any phone calls from any state elected officials or lawmakers of the similar nature?
No. Besides letters that were made public from the Senate president requesting certain things, and I think some other legislators, nobody's actually called and had discussions with our office, either Arizona officials or from out of the state, in terms of the election results. And quite honestly, every single public claim that's made that is baseless is just continuing to drag this out. And I think for the sake of our democracy, we really just need this election to be over. Hopefully tomorrow that will solidify things when the approval of the Electoral College takes place in Congress tomorrow.
There were questions about the accuracy. There were widespread theories about voter fraud here in the state. How much effort actually went into investigating any and all of these claims?
Well, a lot of these claims were brought to court, and the courts, you need evidence when you go to court, and there wasn't evidence. And so every claim that's been made in the state of Arizona has been thrown out of court. It's not because the judges are in on this conspiracy too. It's because there was no evidence. And we have a lot of safeguards in place to ensure the public of Arizona to provide transparency and ensure that our elections are indeed accurate and conducted according to law. And we do pre and post logic and accuracy testing on all of the election equipment around the state. And we do hand count audits in every county around the state. And those things were done, and those things all passed with flying colors. There should be no question about the accuracy of the election. If there was actual evidence, we would have looked at that, but there has been no evidence to substantiate any claims of irregularities or fraud.
With both parties certifying that those votes were accurate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we thank you very much for taking the time, and we will watch how this whole thing plays out.
Thank you.